Ford is truly struggling, and they might have thrown in the towel, waving the white flag in the whole EV race, and invited the Chinese into the US market. So Ford CEO admits that the customers has spoken after EV push drive major quarterly loss. So what he's saying is that the customers don't want EVs, and that is why they're focusing on hybrids instead. Well, if that's the case, I think they have just signed their own death sentence. Because saying there's not enough demand for EVs when someone like Tesla in the US are selling about 7 times as many EVs as Ford does. And the Model Y is the best-selling car model in the world for 3 years in a row. It just doesn't make sense to say, the customers have spoken. Well, sure, if the customers said they want Teslas and not Ford's EVs. And as people here in 2026 realize that they can get a Tesla Model Y for the same price as a Ford Mach-E, but the Model Y can actually drive itself, I think Ford is going to have even bigger problems selling their electric vehicles.
By the way, this is the worst quarterly miss of their results relative to analyst estimates in 4 years. Ford earning 13 cents a share. The street was expecting 19 cents a share. Revenue did come in better than expected. A couple of things may explain why the analysts were expecting better results than what Ford reported. First of all, there was the Novelis aluminum plant, that fire in upstate New York, which supplies aluminum to the F-Series. That hurt volumes there. Perhaps some of the analysts didn't expect the volume impact that Ford actually saw in the fourth quarter. And they also saw a $1 billion greater than expected impact due to tariffs, due to some of the offsets that they expected to be factored into 2025. They're not going to be factored into 2026. So it's a $2 billion headwind hit there for Ford in 2025. So as you look at the metrics within the fourth quarter, a couple of numbers stand out. Adjusted EBIT of $1 billion. The street was expecting $1.23 billion. Free cash flow, negative $2.1 billion. And for each of the divisions at Ford, this is the same story that we've told for some time. 2 of them are profitable. 1 is not. ICE models made a profit of $727 million. Commercial vehicles continues to be the best performing division within Ford, earning $1.23 billion. And then the EV division continues to be a loss, $1.2 billion in the fourth quarter. The guidance for 2026, Ford expects to earn between $8 and $10 billion with free cash flow between $5 and $6 billion, capex of $9.5 to $10.5 billion. And within those divisions, it's the same thing again. They expect to make money when it comes to their internal combustion engine vehicles, anywhere between $4 to $4.5 billion, but they're going to lose $4 to $4.5 billion, or at least that's their guidance when it comes to electric vehicles. The Pro division, still the standout. They're going to make $6.5 to $7.5 billion. Mike, the call starts in 1 hour. We'll see what Jim Farley has to say.
But Ford is still guiding for about $4.5 billion in loss again in 2026 for their EV business. But I don't think we will see Ford ever earning any money on their EV platform before they get to the next generation that they are working on with the skunk team. Because they might not have admitted that yet, but Toyota said it straight out of the gate when they came out with the BZ4X that they would never be profitable on that EV platform, no matter what economy of scale they got to. And I personally think this is true for most automakers, but nobody else has been out saying it. But they will need to get to their next generation EV platform to become profitable. But we are seeing signs that Ford is waving the white flag, as we could see in this article, detailing Ford CEO Jim Farley's discussion with the Trump administration officials on allowing Chinese automakers like Geely and Xiaomi to produce vehicles in the US via joint venture, with Ford holding control stakes to comply with tariffs and boost EV output. Yes, don't forget that Jim Farley actually said that the Xiaomi YU7 was one of the best cars he has ever driven, so he probably would like to make a partnership with Xiaomi. But it underscores Ford's competitive struggles in the EV market, where Tesla leads with superior manufacturing and efficiency and cost. This does look like a bit of a desperate move, echoing legacy automakers' historical reliance on foreign partnership for survival. The legacy automakers will end up being nothing but a brand, a shell of their former self. And while Ford is crying about there is not enough demand, the Chinese continues to march forward as if there was no tomorrow, because we just had an historic moment in China in January. Even though Tesla was actually up in January in China compared to many of the Chinese competitors like BYD that got cut in half in China's domestic market, well, Xiaomi just made history. Xiaomi's YU7 outsold the Tesla Model Y in China in January, with almost 38,000 versus Tesla's almost 17,000. It is the first EV in the similar price range to do so. We have, of course, had the small, affordable EV that cost $5,000 or $10,000 that have tried to outsell the Model Y before in China, but no one in the same price range. That is why this is such a significant moment. Xiaomi doesn't, of course, export any vehicles just yet, as they only sell cars in the Chinese domestic market, whereas Tesla has just, of course, exported over 50,000 vehicles from China in January. So this is not comparing apples to apples, as the sale waves, the export, domestic sales, and all of this is not the same for these two companies. But for Xiaomi to have a car in this price point that in a month have sold almost 38,000 units is quite impressive on its own, and votes very well for the rest of 2026, as January is usually a very low month in sales in China. So if Xiaomi has the production for it, they could sell over 500,000 YU7s in China in 2026. So it is definitely one model to keep an eye on. And it will, in the first 2 months of 2026, probably sell more units than the Ford Mach-E did in all of 2025 globally. Just to put things in a little perspective.